The Nikon DF. Has there ever been a more controversial and hype-generating camera? Has there ever been a more loathed camera in the history of mankind? There's no shortage of critiques of Nikon's retro full-frame digital fusion camera, from hipster mockery videos to full-blown haterade blog reviews. When the advertising came out for the DF, I watched intently, ever waiting for the big reveal. Then when it was, I, like many others, were quite underwhelmed by the DF. I felt it failed to live up to the hype, and it had several major flaws that caused me to write the camera off immediately as a product that I would never ever buy. As more and more reviews rolled in, I started to consider the DF more closely, even getting to try one out. I really did love the retro look of the camera, and the D4 chip was very tempting. I love the fit and finish of the camera, the dials are very tactile, and I really do like the clicks and sound of the shutter. I started to like it, but came to realize that the DF is really a camera of paradox. And by that I mean, there are 5 main things that really don't make sense about it. Number 1, it's a D4 chip. It's a low-light beast. It begs to shoot primes in the dark, but it has the inferior D600, D610 autofocus system that does struggle in very low light situations. It will simply not autofocus where the D800 will. However, adding an SU800 commander for its infrared autofocus beam really does help it out in extreme low light. 2, it can accommodate all the sweet old manual focus Nikkor lenses, but the focusing screen wasn't designed with that in mind. A split prism would have been nice, but Nikon's focus indicator works really nicely, and I have found that to be pretty accurate. Three, the camera is around $3,000, but it's not a pro camera by Nikon standards. It doesn't count for Nikon Pro services. And of course, it doesn't do video, leading to a massive critique about the value of this camera, as far cheaper camera bodies all do video. Lack of video doesn't bother me, as I am primarily a stills photographer, and the D4 chip makes up for a lack of video to me. Number 4. It only has one SD card slot instead of 2. This is the DF's cardinal sin in my mind, as it almost negates this camera for professional work where the in-camera dual card backup workflow is super useful. RAW to one card, JPEG to the other, and if one card fails you still have something. Not in the DF though. And number 5, its top shutter speed is 1/4000th of a second, which is a total bummer for using fast primes in the bright sun. You'll have to resort to ND filters or simply stop down. So those are the 5 paradoxes of the Nikon DF. If you can't live with them, this is not the camera for you. But to me, the D4 chip, the smaller size, and the tactile manual dials all added up to a whole that was greater than the sum of its parts. The DF experience trumped all the negatives to me, and I bought one. It really is the full-frame camera I wanted when I bought my D800, almost a true upgrade to the legendary D700. The DF really balances well with prime lenses, But it also shoots well with Nikon's f4 zooms. The 70-200 f4 really does fit nicely with the DF, as does the 16-35 f4. Those lenses are quite a bit lighter than their 2.8 cousins, and as such, they really do work nicely with the lighter-bodied DF. When I bought the camera, I didn't buy the kit as I already had the 50mm f1.4G and the 50mm f1.8 AFD. If you don't already have a 50mm lens, the kit lens is totally the way to go, because that 1.8G version, which is essentially the same as the other 1.8G version, is a very sharp and solid lens, so I totally get the kit. When you put the DF beside the old Nikon F, you get to see the family resemblance immediately. You get to see that legacy and lineage of amazing image makers throughout time. And if you ever shot with those old cameras, then this is going to take you back, right back to where you were when you were shooting your old classic film cameras. And that's awesome. It also connects us with that whole huge family of Nikkor lenses way, way back in time. So you can dig out those old Nikkors you might have kicking around in your closet and put them on the DF and use them. And a lot of that glass is super sharp. This old 35 f2.8 lens that I had from my dad is a super sharp lens. It's tremendous. And you have a really great nostalgia and feel and connection to the past when you're shooting with a DF. So, is the DF camera for you? Well, in my opinion, you need to take a look at the 5 paradoxes and simply ask yourself, are these things deal breakers for me? Do the DF's retro looks, size, feel, and the D4 image quality trump all the other quirks? For many people, they won't. That's why Nikon makes different cameras. But if you value those top redeeming qualities of the camera, you're not going to be disappointed. You'll revel in the experience of using the DF because it truly is a photographer's camera. The definitive clicks and tactile feel, the definitive sound of the shutter, and how quiet it actually is, using vintage lenses with aperture dials and manual focus, the magical image quality of the ready-for-anything D4 chip that gives you the high ISO capability of cameras that cost more than double, the incredible battery life. The DF is not a camera for everyone. But if it's a camera for you, you are going to love it. And you don't even have to be a hipster.